Good evening. It is, I've taken the watch off, it's about 11:30 at night. Day 4 of the Aesthetica Film Festival. Jason's done the heavy lifting today. He's seen much more than me, mainly because I was doing a podcast this afternoon, which is the Ranji Show, which I'll link down below if anybody's interested in looking at. It's all about synthesizers. So you went off to see experimental first, and he's really getting into the experimental thing.
I'm going to get me some more experimental.
There you go, you see.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Yeah, so I went big today. I did 24 films in total.
That's amazing.
Started with experimental, moved to thriller, and then I did a section around music videos. So can't possibly talk about 24 films, but started strong with experimental. That was at the Theatre Royal.
Yeah, I haven't been to the Theatre Royal this time, so I need to probably go there if I can tomorrow.
Yeah, it was cool. It's nice.
Yeah, it's a good place, isn't it? Yeah. Was it in the big auditorium or the small?
Yeah, the larger one. Yeah.
The large one, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And it is still on again tomorrow, actually. And I would say Experimental 5 is definitely worth seeing again.
Right.
He's on tomorrow at the. It's the other university.
Oh, St. John.
YSJU. That's it.
St. John. I haven't been there.
St. John University.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went over there a couple of times this afternoon. So it's on there. Experimental 5 is on there again at 3 o'clock tomorrow.
I'll try and make that.
Definitely go and see it again. There's 2 of those films are probably in my top 5 of what I've seen so far this week. So 6 films. It was all based around alternative realities. First one, questioning the existence of Alec. It was a US film. Only 4 minutes. Really enjoyed it as an opener. It was kind of archive footage using distressed film, great experimental music.
All right.
Something similar to your Fraser syndrome.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, definitely. I've got to go tomorrow.
I've got to go tomorrow. There's a checking that up for you.
That's a plug.
It is.
Out on the 17th of November. Fraser syndrome.
Shameless plug. So archive footage, great soundtrack, added noise and distortion kind of accompanying all the footage. It was really good. It was pretty mundane stuff, people fishing, swimming, strolling by the sea, but it worked really well. Nice 5-minute intro. Next one's called Square the Circle, which was a Finnish movie, 17 minutes long. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was amazing. So it was called Square the Circle. It was subtitled. It was shot somewhere and nowhere. At the same time. The majority of the film was shot through a spherical lens. So it was all about a circle. So you had the big square screen, but actually it was a circle in the middle of the screen. It was a nice mixture of filmed footage and CGI. Great visual effects. There's one part where a woman was walking around a landscape kind of out in the forest. But they did it with one of those kind of 360, so we filled the circle, 360 camera, and she sped up, and it was like she was running around a hamster wheel in the end. It was really interesting. I've never seen anything like that. Definitely one of my favourites. I'd say that the visuals were that compelling that I didn't really follow the dialogue, so I didn't really know what the film was about because I focused on the visuals. Which is a good thing. So I'd definitely go back to it and watch it again to get the story. Yeah, definitely. So really recommend it. Music was great again, kind of lots of granular, lots of glitch, lots of FX. So it's really good and really suited it. It was amazing. Next one was called The 20th Cinematic Nail Factory. It was filmed in Croatia. It was a black and white film of a manufacturing plant that made nails. The factory was built in 1925. They filmed it.
It's true. This.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So it was a very old factory. It was filmed in 1999. It shut down not long after that. It was all about kind of the automation and the technology from the last century that's now become obsolete.
That sounds fascinating to me.
Well, and I've spent most of my life in factories and in a manufacturing environment. So it was really good. You could kind of smell the factory. You could smell the grease, the oil, the kind of. There was these big deburring barrels, and you could just, the visuals and the music really helped you immerse into it. The rhythm of the machinery and everything. It was really good. But it was the day in the life of a nail.
That's all right.
But it was good, and it was spun into a good film. So really enjoyed it. The next one was Garden State. It was filmed in, I think it was filmed in New Jersey, which I've just come back from actually. So that was quite nice for me. Lots of shots, kind of colourful landscapes, very peaceful and serene. But the backdrop was showing how nature sits alongside industrialised world.
Right.
So lots of heavy machinery, lots of big plants, all chugging away, churning away, cement factories, scrap yards, all sort of stuff. But then it was also showing the beauty of the wildlife all around it. So quite a great little movie, an interesting journey. The next one was called Patient, an American film which is 20 minutes, and probably my favourite so far.
Okay.
I'd watch it again and again.
Right.
Best acting I've seen.
Right.
It was so the start, and again can't really give. Don't want to give it away, but basically, I think it was 4 different patients turn up with the same complaint. They're complaining of stomach pains. So it's them and a doctor, them and their practitioner talking through it. And it turns out actually they're student nurses and they're being tested. Yeah. So the patients are actors. So the patients turn up, they've got an ailment, and actually they're testing out student nurses, student doctors.
That would be really interesting to me, because that, in a previous life when I was a university lecturer, that I was involved in those. I was not a clinician, but I was involved in that type of exam. So I'd be able to see it from my perspective.
Yeah. So they had like a 20-minute visit with a doctor, and then they'd give them feedback.
That's exactly what they did. I mean, York Health Sciences, that's exactly how they examine student nurses.
So it was amazing acting. I wasn't sure. So clearly the people that were the actors, that were the ones with the ailments, were actors.
Yeah.
But I actually really believe that the student doctors were student doctors, and it was a documentary. But at the end I saw that it was all actors. But it was amazing. It was 20 minutes, and I would have watched another 20 minutes.
It's funny actually, it's a slight digress, but when we were in Edinburgh this year, we saw a piece which was 3 actors who were nurses, and it was about their experience of being, and it was based on real events, real interactions with nurses. But these 3 actors, and they were actors, could have been nurses, because having taught nurses for 18 years, I could see each of them as a so that proves about.
I think it's down to the casting and the acting.
Absolutely,
has to be.
Yeah. That's a play called Attending, if everybody wants to see that. It's still going around. It's brilliant.
Nice. So no, really, really good. It was written, directed and edited by Laurie Feller. As I said, 20-minute movie. I would have happily sat through another 20 minutes and more. It was really, really good. And the last one, it was a little, so 4 minutes. It was made in the UK. It was called ASMR Deconstruction. So ASMR. It's probably had its peak now, but it was massive over the last couple of years. So it was a little funny film challenging the kind of don't believe everything you see on the internet.
Right.
And it was all ASMR, liquids, plastics, fruit, styrofoam. The styrofoam you used to get scrape it on the wall to make snowflakes.
Yeah.
It was kind of all of that. So a different take. It was all about don't believe, not everything is real. But it was fun. It was a nice way to end it. Again, as always, I've been really impressed by how they're grouped, packaged, sequenced.
Yeah.
It works really, really well. So I'm loving it.
I went to the Hospitium. So
which I still haven't found.
Yeah, it's in the Museum Gardens, right? And I went to, just on spec, I went to either go to the VR lab or the games lab. I thought I'll go and look. And they're both in the same place. The VR lab is upstairs and the games lab is downstairs. And the staff there were brilliant. They were really friendly and really helpful. And I did go upstairs to try and look at the VR lab. But as I got there, the guy said, "Well, have you booked?" And so you've only got tomorrow. But if you're going to go to the VR lab, you've got to book in advance. Through the Aesthetica website or the ASFF website.
I think they run all throughout the day.
They do, yeah. So they're about an hour each session.
Yeah, there's 8 sessions tomorrow.
Yeah, and he said, well, we're just about to finish this, and then we're going to have to reset for half an hour, and the timings won. So I did go down. I went into the games lab. Again, staff in there were great. He got me a table, got me a games set up. Now, I don't consider myself to be a gamer, but I do know how to use a PS4 controller. I've never used a Switch controller before, and it's a slight criticism, but we could have done with some basic instruction on how to use the controller, because obviously the buttons are in different places. A controller's a controller to some extent, but you are pretty much left to your own devices. So navigating the menu system for a start when you've never used a Switch controller wasn't great. And he could have done with just half a sheet of A4 saying to start, do this. If you don't play a lot of games, or you never use the Switch. I tried to play 2 games. One of them was an 18 plus, which was called Post Trauma, because I like horror and I like sort of post-pandemic type thing. And it was just a very generic puzzle game, which I lost interest in really quickly, because the puzzle element of it was, I could spend probably 3 days just trying to get out this train carriage. I went from one carriage to the next carriage and all the doors were locked and I couldn't see any way out. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not keen on that sort of, I mean, I quite like games if they've got a bit of puzzle, but not that type of game. And I've seen those games back in the day where it's just all puzzle, and it felt like that was what it was going to be like, you know. Plus, I was pressing all the buttons to try and get stuff to happen.
Yeah, that probably didn't help as well. If you didn't feel like you was immersed.
The second game, which once I managed to extract myself from that game and get into the second game, was You're Just Imagining It. The animation was very simplistic, sort of very static, no 3D element to it at all. Just things on a screen, like writing text on a screen or an image. Quite childlike, but it's about, you played a character where you had an illness and you'd seen lots of doctors, and you couldn't have your illness diagnosed, which I have to say, and I played it for about 5 minutes, maybe slightly longer, and generally couldn't see the point of it. I mean, I thought, why would I want to play a character that has got an illness that I can't get diagnosed? It didn't seem, it did almost seem pointless to me as a game. Sorry if you ever see this, people that have come up with You're Just an Imagination. But I only played 5 minutes of it. So had I gone on with it, I might have got into it. In your natural environment, I suppose, if you're sitting and you're in a game mode. Yeah, but I wouldn't play it. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't play a game like that. I wouldn't play a game that is where, and it wasn't realistic in the sense the graphics of the were very, very simplistic, and very cartoony. So there was no realistic element to it. I mean, when he went to work, there was like a little screen and it just flashed an image, not even of a person, of like an animal, and then you were back from work. So it didn't do it for me, didn't that? But I've tried it. If you're a real gamer and you come in,
maybe it was a novel twist, right?
Yeah,
maybe you just picked up.
I mean, there are lots of games to choose from. I picked 2 randomly, and there must have been about 40 games to play, really. So
I might give it a go tomorrow and see. I know my way around a Switch. I think.
Right. Yeah. But I don't, so I'd rather it was a PS4 or 5. But anyway,
do it with your eyes shut. Right?
I could. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and then you do the next one. I then went off to Artist Film 2, but we'll come back to that.
Okay, so I did Thriller 3. So that was over at the St John University. I spent most of the afternoon there, actually. Really good place. It was a good place for films. Really, really nice venue. It's across town. Seen another part of York. I've probably walked. You walked the length and breadth of York this week, which is good. So it's Thriller 3, 6 films. I do find it hard. I've seen a couple of thriller sections now, and I find it hard talking about them without giving away the plot.
Yeah, and we don't want to do that.
So I'm going to kind of skim through them, really.
Just pick your best one.
Yeah, probably.
I'll put it up so you can see all of them on screen. So just pick the one that you thought was the best.
Yeah, so I mean, there wasn't one standout, but maybe I just picked the highlights of them. So film 3 was called Lagoon. Well, what I will say is, whilst walking across town, because you're quite tight, aren't you, between... You finish one session, walk across town. So I kind of finish one session. They're starting on time, but they're usually finishing late. Right?
Yeah, I had that today.
So I think that's where they're emphasising the punctuality, start it on time.
Yeah.
So you come out at 10 past, you've got to get to the next one on the half hour, walking across town, grab something to eat. So I'm walking along, I'm eating the first 3 films of Thriller 3 all had lots of food-related gore, just as I was digesting a vegetable samosa, which was quite interesting. And they were all squeamish, and he did the write-up for that section, for that selection of those 6 films, did talk about it was squeamish and that you'd be looking through your fingers, which it was very much that. There's a couple I want to kind of focus on. There was one called Lagoon, which was film 3, UK film. It was set to a really good dub track, real kind of throbbing dub track. So I'll wait for the title to see it was. It was by Eric Chappell. So I'm going to look it up. It was really, really good. Really suited the film. Lots of food-based gore, lots of spaghetti everywhere, but really good, visually good. Got some. Definitely got feedback from the audience as well. So there was some participation there, which was good. I guess another one to call out was film 4, which was called Demons. It was an Indian film. It was 15 minutes long, but didn't feel too long. It was kind of on the longer side of the shorts. But it felt okay. It was about a junkie. He gets a fresh batch from his dealer, his newly kind of clean dealer, and it was a kind of creepy gore horror. So there was horror elements. There was twists in it. It was very good. There was a kind of a calling whistle in there that kind of that evoked the spirits, and it's kind of just like a it's like, don't do that late at night when you're on your own. It's kind of one of those. So that was very good. It was more blurred, more squeamishness, lots of squeamishness. It was interesting. It was a massive production. When they rolled the credits, hundreds of people, like 200-300 people. There was a carpenter, a painter, a carpenter's assistant, a painter's assistant. So they'd put so much into it that kind of, if I hadn't sat and read through the credits, I wouldn't have known that. Wouldn't have understood that there were so many people took part in it. So they're all good. As I say, hard to talk about them without giving the game away, but all very good and definitely worth seeing. I think you can still catch it on Sunday. So York's Museum, kind of end of the day tomorrow, 9:30 p.m. at York's Museum. But some really good ones there. Really, really good.
So I, after being at the game lab, I didn't have much time to get across to Friargate, which is the first time I've been to Friargate. But and actually, once I got there, I realised it was the red light, the riding theatre group who ran it, which was great. But I didn't know they were on theatre, but I found it fine. And it was pretty full. It wasn't totally full. I went to see Artist Film 2, Past Meets Future, and 6 films. First film was The Flesh of Language, which was it was a subtitled film, although there were bits of it that were spoken in English. But I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what it was about. What did irritate me was the first, and how long was it? It was 60 minutes in total. The first 4 minutes or so were subtitled, and the subtitles were all in capitals. Which gets very wearing when you're dyslexic. So big no there. And then it went on about. My interest peaked because it was on about sound and how tape sound, reel-to-reel tape, and magnetic particles and stuff like that. I thought, this is getting interesting. And then we had a really sort of cheesy dance song with some girls dancing, with again subtitles it was in English, but it was subtitled in capitals, and I had no idea what the whole thing was about. Absolutely not. And actually, looking here, says The Flesh of Language establishes the link between interspecies and the paranormal communication to engage with and question the barriers that typically separate modern science from I can't pronounce that, exorcism or something. It's not exorcism.
Esoteric.
Esoteric. Absolutely not. That is not what it was about.
Right.
That bears absolutely no resemblance to what it was about. Anyway, not a hit with me. Okay. Second one was a French film. It was filmed beautifully. and it was about these there was these. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give it away. Because actually, it was. So it's a suburban household estate, very sort of. It could have been run down London, you know.
Inner city life.
Inner city life.
Yeah.
About a mother and her young people, but you know, the mother and her daughters, and it was. I was engaged. It was good. You know, it was, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give the end away really. The next
was that subtitled?
That was all subtitled.
But it was okay.
It was subtitled correctly. Yeah,
right.
It was just normal subtitles. Yeah. And actually, that's the first thing I wanted to. When I was watching all the capital, I'm thinking capital. I don't think we normally see capitals in subtitles. And then I wanted a comparison, and luckily I got one because I'm thinking, oh, that's how subtitles should look. You know, I was doubting myself in that first film.
And it was 20 minutes. Did it feel good for 20 minutes?
Yeah, it was fine for 20 minutes.
Right.
I was engaged for the whole time.
Right,
you know,
good.
Actors were good. You know, it was fantastic, really. Yeah. And then we had Just Kids, which was it says it's an ambitious Asian-struck American man is shaped by the experiences of his immigrant father. I don't want to say any more than that, really. Only 5 minutes. It wasn't too long. It was fine. It was okay. I mean, it was good. I'm not really selling it, am I? I was less engaged than the previous film, but much more engaged than the first film. So it was, you know, I think you have to make your own mind up with some of these things. But it was short enough to be a nice short little film. The next one, which was Don't Tell Peanut, was 22 minutes. So it's probably the longest one, actually, more or less the longest one. Yeah, was bonkers and brilliant. It was Peanut was a little figure, and the animation was so weird and bizarre that you have to see this. It was funny. It was all animated, the whole thing, but none of the animation was. So Peanut was like a sort of little statue thing, but then other bits of animation would be like stuck on posters. It was really sort of weird, and it should have fitted into the experimental bracket because it was that, and it certainly passed the 6 laugh test. The whole audience liked it. 22 minutes flew by. We wanted to know what was happening with Peanut towards the end, and it was great. It was certainly the best of the 6.
Okay,
really.
So
and it might get my top 5 if I'm honest.
Nice, I like it. So it says in the brief it's a neo-Campbellian techno parable.
Yeah, that I would say that whatever that means, but yeah, it is. It's definitely that. It was definitely out there. It was way out there. Yeah. The next one, sadly, is an important subject because it was about the rainforest and Brazil and clouds and you know that sort of thing. And it was sort of on 2 screens at once with subtitles. Everything was subtitled. So I wasn't quite sure where to look. And it was quite long because it was about 16 minutes, I think, 14 minutes. And sadly, it just felt like a lecture, but I wasn't as engaged with it. I knew it was an important subject, but I've seen things that are probably better, really, to get the point across. And I don't think it really did get the point across to me. Because, again, I wasn't quite sure which screen I should be looking at. That one or reading the subtitles.
It does. Present itself as a 2-channel film. Yeah,
it is very much so. And there's one bit where you had they held a load of text on screen, and didn't subtitle it, but you had to read that, and they did that in different languages. It wasn't as good as Peanut. And the last one, which was Duck, was quite funny, and it's Duck is a deep fake short that follows Sean Connery, and he did look like Sean Connery, and he did look like Marilyn Monroe, and all of the Bonds are in there.
So they're all lookalikes.
They're deep fakes.
Okay.
The voices were great actually.
I get it, okay.
So Sean Connery's voice was great. We had literally every Bond under the sun in there.
Even Lazenby.
Even Lazenby was there. Yeah, they were all there, and there was lots of blood and gore. everybody got shot. But then I mean, Marilyn got shot, but must have been about 30, 40 times. There were bits of bodies everywhere, really. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't quite sure what the hell it was all about. But actually, it was quite enjoyable, and it was quite funny, you know. But it's definitely worth seeing.
Okay.
It's bonkers.
Nice.
It was bonkers. And again, in the experimental field. Definitely in the experimental field.
It does sound good.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth. We should note all of these to come back and watch.
Yeah, we
streaming,
should. Yeah,
you can still stream, can't you, till the end of November?
Shall we stop there for this half?
I think so.
And then we'll film. We've got more. You've got
music videos.
We both went to a premiere of 4 films tonight, so we've got those to talk about, and we'll do that in part 2. So thanks very much for watching. We'll see you shortly. Cheers. Bye bye.